Hello. Hello. I think I've got this thing set up right. I'm Hollis Taylor, and we're doing the Learning Circle today. I know it says my first event. I'm using a new software, and it keeps saying my first event. And it's like, not exactly. Um, I have done this in the past, of course. And today we are going to be focusing on learning. So I'm hoping to offer some insight on things. Um, hi, I wish I could see who you were, Facebook user. It says, hi, Hollis. I'm going to have to work on trying to find a way to find out who you are. So sometimes, okay. So my spouse was helping me out. She says it's Leslie. Hi, Leslie. On my software, it just says Facebook user. So and it's great to have you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. And we'll just give a few minutes for everybody to get together, and we'll be talking today about really I offer any questions anyone has. I welcome you to add your questions in the chat. I can see them. I may not always know your name, but I can see who it is. Sometimes it just says Facebook user. It has something to do with your settings or something like that. I've looked it up in the past. It has something to do with your settings. So, um, so um, I love that you're all here. Hi, Ramona. Yeah, if Ramona, your name shows up, but the other people that said hi, I want to say your name. I'm gonna recommend that you just like put your name at the end that says like the way Ramona just did and put Ramona here. Ramona, you actually show up. It says I can see your name. So, what we're hoping to do is have your question about pretty much anything, any mystical questions you might have in relation to. It does say Facebook user Robert White. Welcome, Robert White. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Doris and Ty and Andrea. It's so good to have you all here. I would really love to hear your questions. Just about anything mystical. I love doing these little learning circles where people can ask good questions. Hi, Kayla. Welcome. Hey, Shannon. And it's really great if you put your name in the comments just saying so then I can say hi to you. And I'm glad you're here. I really am because this is fun for me, and I like being able to communicate with all of you, really. I like being able to answer questions live and to show you that, I'm a real human being here. And hi, Sarah from Missouri. I'm glad you're here. And hi, Christy and Kathy from Connecticut. It's good to have you here. It's really I feel like one of the biggest things that I was challenged with when I was trying to learn any kind of mystical thing was finding a mentor, finding someone to ask questions and to just to learn from in general. Um, I don't how can I explain it? It was like I kind of just read books. And sometimes I knew some people that might, answer some questions or something, but most of the time I had to figure stuff out on my own. So, so just, you know, it can be hard, and to learn things. And if you're new to mysticism of any kind, then, then it's nicer if you have a mentor or something. So you should be able to see a link somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but you should be able to see a link somewhere, hopefully, to I know definitely in the comments, um, to visit my website, book, um, and my website, I'm gonna put a little ticker on the bottom there. So you can learn more about me. You can order my book or anything like that. At my website. So it's a little ticker there on the bottom. So you can watch that go by and type it in your whatever, or take a screenshot. Um, so, you know, if you have a question, put it in the chat now. Hi, Lori from Iowa. What's the best way to learn tarot? Says Doris. Doris asks, what's the best way to learn tarot? Um, um, and I would just say that honestly, first of all, if you go to my vodcast, Rainbow Soul Vodcast, or search in Amazon, there's a really cool coloring book. And I strongly suggest that you learn Rider-Waite first. Why? Well, so like tarot has a history, okay? And it's been around for a long time. And honestly, I think learning Rider-Waite was the best thing I chose. When I chose to like skip around. I didn't follow directions. Nobody told me to learn Rider-Waite first. Eventually some lady, a woman said, my Reiki master, she said, you might want to learn Rider-Waite. It might help you a lot with what you're doing there. And I was like, oh, really? And so look, I can show you the question. And so that's the question that I'm answering right now, Doris. And I didn't, at the time, I had started learning tarot, but I didn't really, I wasn't very good at it. Let me just say that. So when she suggested that, I was like, huh. So I did start to study the basic Rider-Waite deck. And I found it to be kind of drab sometimes, but it at least taught me the basics. It teaches you about the major arcana story, and it teaches you about like the four elements, the pentacles, the swords, the wands, and the cups, right? So then what happens is when you come around to another deck, right? Then when you find a deck that really speaks to you. So this was one of my first decks that really spoke to me. I was like, oh, so here's the 5 of Pentacles. And by this point, I already knew Rider-Waite. So I knew that, and then I just read the little book that came with this, but I didn't do every reading out of it. And I would say, oh, okay, well, the unicorn means the divine. And, Pentacles is about manifestations. So this is about creating manifestations, right? And creating money or resources around those manifestations. 5 Pentacles. Okay. So it can really help you kind of, once you understand what the 4 elements are great. Now, if you go to Rainbow Soul Vodcast and go in the description there, or go to Amazon and search for Lacrosse Ortiz, there's a coloring book with the major arcana. And I think that that's really helpful. Frankly, I wish I had it when I was learning. I mean, coloring and sort of meditating on the major arcana. I would say that 1 card a day pool is also helpful. So even on new decks, as I get new decks, this is my Pride deck. And when I get a new deck, I still pull 1 card at a time. And I will, look, trying to do things backwards. This is the Ace of Swords, right? And so, I'll pull 1 card a day, and then you try to find that theme in your day. Pull 1 card a day and try to find or manifest that every day. 1 card a day. Now, also, back my Reiki master, she also told me that to do 1 card a day. And she also told me to, at the end of the day, to put it under my pillow and sleep on it. And then in the next morning, pull that card out, put it back, and go to the next card. And I did do that. So it'll take you however many cards are in your deck. Now, and this even helped me once I learned the Rider-Waite, I was able to cross over to these other decks. And it even helped me with this. It's clean enough. This deck is French, so sometimes there's things on it. I don't want to get banned or whatever. So let's try to find something that's a little bit. Okay. So this is a really great deck, but as you can see, it's French and it's a little bit, but I was able to figure it out because this is water, and even though it's not cups, it's water. And at the bottom there, it has astrological symbols, which now being an astrologer, I know that that means it's a Cancer moon. So it really helps me either predict the timing when I'm doing a reading or predict like the person's astrology setup. So that would be my tips on astrology. So if you want to learn tarot, maybe try Lacrosse's coloring book. You can find it Lacrosse Ortiz, LeKrossOrtiz. He made a really great coloring book for the major arcana for Rider-Waite. So learn Rider-Waite, and then you can read any deck, and they will all make sense. And that's the trick. Okay. All right. Thank you, Doris, for asking a good question. And self-research was the only option available to me in the 80s and 90s. Me too. That's pretty much, I think that was pretty much all of our experience that if you were learning during that time. Okay, so then this person is asking, does the past ones grieve or feel us if we cry for them? So first of all, when a person has passed on that was connected to you, they're always connected to you. Okay. And so that's sort of the first thing. Until they are reincarnated, which usually isn't until you are complete your life mission. Sometimes they'll be reborn for a variety of reasons. And they definitely know when you're crying for them. I don't know that they exactly grieve because they are mostly love. They're no longer humans. But I feel that they miss being human sometimes. They definitely say that. They say that they miss being a human. And I'm like, okay. Most spirits express a desire for the things that humans experience, especially sex and food. And that's why a lot of us leave food and drink out in honor in honor of those. All right. So yeah. Okay. So and then how did the past ones grieve? And I would say that they wish they were human, and that's why we offer food and drink. So hopefully you have like a little altar space for them where you can put food and drink out, and that can also help you with grieving. So just by the way, a simple tip for grieving, so you don't think you're crazy, is to set up like a little bit of an altar, a little space with their picture, maybe a candle or any of their personal items that work in that space, and talk to them and cry, and you'll feel their presence. First of all, if you're able to, all of us can feel the presence of our loved ones on the other side. It's just that a matter of belief usually, and opening our third eye, and grief and trauma block the third eye. So so you might have to work on the grief a little bit. And so this is a little, try to create like a daily ritual of something you do with that altar space every day. And that will help your brain. It will help your brain come to the realization that the person has passed on, or acceptance that the person has passed on, and it will help you form a new relationship with your loved one. It will be different, yes. It won't be the way it was before, no, but it will be something that can really help you, really, really help you, okay? So that's my suggestion there. Hi from Calgary. Hello. Um, if you're not a medium, can you learn how to connect with your loved one? Yes. The quick answer is yes. I don't know that we're all mediums because medium implies that we do readings for others. But we are all like capable of communicating with the other side. And here's why. The people that you love that have passed on are your spirit guides, by the way. And those spirit guides are at your side all the time, and they want to be able to communicate with you, and they want you to communicate with them. Okay. So they want to be able to hear you, and they want you to be able to hear them. So once you sort of work through some of the grief and trauma, not all of it, but some of it, once you're not feeling so heavy all the time and you're able to kind of tap into your third eye, you are able to connect with your loved one, connect with them. And that's one of the tips I just gave about using the altar space. That will really help. Okay. So that's like your first step. And of course, you can book some coaching with me, some mediumship coaching, and I'll absolutely show you how to connect with your loved one. Okay. Welcome, Tracy. Oh, I guess your Tracy is tagging Tracy Kylene. Tracy Karzweski is tagging Tracy Kylene. Okay. And Christina Halloran. Okay. Oh, you're a Cancer. I wonder if you have a Cancer moon. You may not know. I do astrology charts too, so maybe someday we'll take a look. Um, it's important to know your rising sign and your moon sign at the very least, because then when you get a horoscope, you'll be better about knowing the influences. So if I say, "Oh, there's a full moon in Cancer," you'll be like, "Oh, shoot, there's a full moon in the same side as my full moon." And then you'll, especially Cancer, because Cancer is ruled by the moon. So by the way, person that's a Cancer, you should be watching the moon cycles. You should always know where the moon is in its cycle because it will greatly influence you. Okay? I'm gonna have a little drink of water. Kayla asked, when you pull one card, is there a question or an intention behind it? You mean when you do, so if you doing a one card pull for somebody, usually there is a question or an intention, unless it's just general. Um, like what does spirit have to say to me? I believe that spirit or your spirit guides make cards fall or come up. Okay. So, um, so maybe spirit has something to tell you. Okay. Um, or if you're doing the day-to-day learning thing, I still feel like spirit is still trying to teach you something. But because usually I don't recommend shuffling it each day and just doing one card so you get through the whole deck and you don't keep pulling out the Ace of Swords card or something. Which would be great. But it doesn't help you in the learning process, right? So my suggestion would be that you try to uh kind of go through each card, so don't shuffle it. But if you're doing a one card pool for people, you can ask a question or you can do a general. And generally when you're learning, your intention is learning. So it's sort of like, okay, spirit, teach me this today. Teach me what this card is about today. So if you get the Fool's card, maybe that's the beginning of your journey, or you start something new, or you learn something new. Okay. And that's kind of what spirit is trying to communicate. So, welcome, Dina. I have a few little shrines throughout the house with my son. Oh, that's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. Welcome, Sarah Barr. I'm glad you're here. how can you find out who are your spirit guides? Well, it's a funny thing because, probably a couple hundred years ago, most of us talked to our spirit guides all the time. It was completely normal. And now we've sort of lost contact, huh? And a lot of us are out of contact with our spirit guides and stuff because we've all been disempowered, usually by organized religion. Um, and, you know, to empower you, I would say that we could work through it in coaching with me. But most of the time, your spirit guides are the people that you have lost in your life. But if you're too young to have lost your great grandma or your grandma or whatever, your spouse or whatever, then a lot of times it will be ancestors you haven't met or people connected to your intentions. So for instance, I'm a drag king, right? And I have a lot of drag queen spirit guides. And they would actually come to me and sort of mm, um they would encourage me to to be more a particular type of drag king, okay? And they would encourage me to do certain numbers or certain things or dress a certain way. And that was good because I helped change the face of drag in the place I was at, okay? So, um whatever your sort of like soul purpose is, there could be guides around you that are related to that. So if you're a nurse, you could have, and including the care people that you take care of, absolutely, those are your spirit guides when they pass. Um, if you're an artist, let's say you love to paint, there might be painters that come through at certain times when you're painting or when you're working on that thing, okay? And then you'll have, usually your spirit guides will often usually be like a great grandparent or an ancestor or an angel that's around you for some reason. Uh, Thanks. So if you don't know, I had to reschedule this event because I got 5 foot of snow. I knew something was about to happen. My anxiety was through the roof, and 5 feet of snow fell up here, just about 5 feet. So I'm up in the Rocky Mountains, Colorado. I'm at 9,000 feet in the foothills. I know 9,000 feet doesn't sound like the foothills, does it? Makes it sound like it's lower down or something, but we're at about 9,000 feet. And yeah, lots of snow fell in a very short period of time, pretty much overnight. I'm grateful that we had electricity and all the things we needed and all of our needs met. And then when it came time to clear the snow, all of the guests in my Airbnb came out um, and help me clear the snow. Shoveling, a couple of young boys downstairs up here visiting Colorado for the first time. I'm kind of like, oh boy, you picked the time to come. So but they helped me clear the snow and they got their trucks out this morning, and my other guests finally got to go to the grocery store. So, it's you know. So I don't know who this is that today is your birthday, because you can see that my software is showing me that it's a Facebook user. You're welcome to say your name, and I'm welcome to say happy coming to the Earth Day. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here on Earth. We need you here, in case you didn't know that. We're all here for a reason. If you're alive, there's a reason. I'm glad you're here. All right. How do our loved ones and spirits see us? Do they see us as we are, or is it different? Um, I think our loved ones in spirit are witnessing the way we are, but they also seem to know where we're headed, what our soul purpose is, and how others might influence us. So they might give you warning that someone is toxic, or they might say, "Ooh, go towards that person, get a reading from that person," or um, connect with that person, right? Okay, and that's important for us to listen and follow our intuition on that. So I think that they mostly see us how we are, but they also see our future to come, what our potential is. But they can't force us to do anything in particular. Um, but they can sort of influence us about who we connect with and why. Okay. Okay. Is that the right one? Yeah. Could my spirit guide be my son? Yes, probably is. You guys are probably also have some soul contracts, or you could be soulmates, or who knows. Or even twin flames. He passed 2 years ago. And there's something I'm sure you've learned from his passing. As hard as I know it is, I know it's really hard, but take those lessons in, okay? And make sure you believe that he is your spirit guide, because he absolutely is. Absolutely. I believe everybody that we're connected to that passes is our spirit guide, period. Because they're even like as a nurse, I used to take care of people just before they died. And this is when I figured that out. There was one woman, she came to me and told me she had breast cancer and it had spread all over her body and she was going to pass. And so she asked me to be her caregiver. And so I did. And towards the end there, she said, "You're my death midwife." And at the time, I was like, "I am?" And then once she crossed over, um, she asked me to take her to spiritual witchy events and stuff that I would go to sometimes. She asked me to take her with her and to always speak her name out loud at them. And I said, "Okay, I will, Sandy." See, I just spoke her name again, right? Okay. And um and I believe she's my spirit guide. And when I say her name, she comes closer to me. Okay. And so then she will come forth and be part of it, because it was something she regretted in her life, that she never got to be part of spiritual things, even though she was drawn to it. Okay. So everyone that passes that in any way is your spirit guide. Some people or some spirits are more active and more present with you all the time, like your son. And some spirits might just come in sometimes, like the way Sandy does for me. Okay. Um, do I happen to see or anything about Johnny Depp? Oh, you're trying to get a reading. It's not really a good way to do it. I usually sense the spirits around you. So, uh, it's and I don't usually do names anyway, but you could say something to Johnny. But um honestly, it would be better in a private reading, because right now I'm kind of like focused on everybody's questions. I'm in a live thing. I can't see your face. I barely can. I can see that your name is Tracy Karzeski, but outside of that, it would be better if we're in Zoom face to face. Okay, that's when my reading can go. And if you want to know what my readings look like, just search my name in the mediums group, and you'll see the reviews. Do I need to have a deity? Um, no, Nikki, you don't. No, I'm not really big into deities. I've studied a bunch of them. I know them. I know some of them. Um, almost never use a deity. I do sometimes refer to God, goddess, both and neither. Um, just to recognize that there's more than just two genders, even in our reflection of the divine, because even though there are some deities that are transgender or non-binary, um, we don't always recognize them that way. We still like label them as man or woman, and that's annoying to me. So I will sometimes recognize them as male, female, both and neither, or God, goddess, both and neither. And I think there's all aspects of all gender relations. In fact, I think it's kind of weird to put gender on a deity. But But if you want one, it can be very powerful for you if you're really called to that, you should. But honestly, for like the first 10 years of my witchcraft study, I never did a deity. I didn't know what most of them were most of the time, um and most of the time I was called to the elements. So if you're really called to the elements or some other aspect, you don't have to include a deity. Or you can just be like the divine and you can capture all of it, right? Okay. What would you say? And you would go by what you're being called. So if you do decide that you want a deity, you want to go by based on what you're called to, what you're feeling drawn to, what feeds you the most, or what you identify with right now during this time in your life. Sometimes people will like use certain deities during certain times of their life. And that might just depend on what you're going through, like some people could be doing a lot of shadow work and use Morgan and or Sekhmet, while other people could be um, trying to do good things for the world and identify with Archangel Michael or something like that. Okay, so it really depends on what you're up to, but usually it has something to do with either your own personality or or this sort of part of your life, time in your life. Do our loved ones know the date of our death? You mean, can they predict when you're going to die? I assume that's what you mean. No, because the moment and day that you will die is not always fated completely. And that I learned in astrology when I do the astrology death readings. It's more like the universe opens a window and says, okay, so you keep smoking. If you continue to smoke, you're going to die. So a doctor tells you that, eh? And then you can choose to quit smoking and shut the window and don't die, or to jump through. Keep smoking, die of lung cancer, right? Okay. So that's an example of a window being open. Now, eventually, when people are much, much older, like in their 90s, and I've had this happen with people with like dementia and stuff like that, they'll tell you they're about to pass. They'll be like, they won't always say it like, I'm gonna die or whatever. They'll say something more, they'll be talking to people that have passed, like they're hanging out with them, they're gonna go over their dad's house, you see. And what they're actually trying to say is that they're gonna pass. Okay. So so your date is not predetermined because you have free will. So, like when a person is diagnosed with cancer, right? They have the choice whether to treat it or possibly die from it, right? Okay. And so those kinds of things are more like it's it's not faded, it's more like a window of time. Okay? And um those windows open and close throughout our lifetime. Okay? And you probably would know that a window is open when a doctor tells you that you have a health problem that could possibly take your life. Okay? You can also look at your astrology chart. But I will say that I've seen people have accidents or whatever outside of those times. And I've seen people have those times and pass anyway, even though they didn't choose to. And that sometimes is a little bit more faded. So when you see that, that's a little bit more faded. Like, let's just say someone had some sort of cancer that like blood cancer or something. And they passed, or they had like a brain aneurysm. That's a great example. Where it just came on suddenly and then they passed very quickly. When that happens, it's, you know, it's kind of faded. And but you can't tell when that is. And it seems like astrology is set that way on purpose because we're not supposed to know when we die. A lot of people are like, I don't want to know when I'm going to die. And I'm like, okay, good. But we're not supposed to know because then we wouldn't live our day. Like, we wouldn't live our days fully. Okay. Somebody asked, what is a deity? A deity is a god or a goddess or a higher entity that could be a variety of genders, like Aphrodite, who is a they. Those are all deities. The deities are sort of like higher powers, spiritual entities that are usually created in the history of human life, in a sort of spiritual fashion. Okay. Hi, Monica. I'm glad you're here. You're welcome, Nikki. Yeah. Someone asked, how's my snow? So if you have any spiritual questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I got like about 15-20 minutes left. How's your snow? It's wow. I spent the entire day digging it out, pretty much. Digging out the snow. Thank goodness I had help from my guests because I certainly couldn't have done it. So, I'm glad it's over. I'm very sore. I'm glad to be sitting here talking to y'all and not and not out there scooping up snow. I'm grateful for my neighbor with a front loader, and I'm grateful to have had all of my resources and needs met during that time. That was already hard. So, I'm glad it's over. My name is Hollis Ramona. Why can I not feel my son who died 5 weeks ago? Well, that probably has something to do with grief, I would just guess. 5 weeks is not very long for dying, for someone that's passed, especially since it's your son. That's not very long to work through grief. Keep talking to him and your grief will change. Also, sometimes people say, I can't feel him or I can't feel so and so. And most of the time when I get them in a private reading and we start talking about it, they're like, was that? Oh, well, I thought it might be him, but I'm not sure. So I dismissed it. So that's the other thing. Be careful you're not dismissing it. And that happens a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, I don't know, Ramona. It People dismiss it in their minds when spirit is talking to them, when they get intuition, when they feel things, when the lights flicker, whatever it is, you dismiss it in your mind. And when you do that, you're sort of dismissing the message from your loved one. Okay. So try not to do that. I would be checking in on myself on that. And there are so many different ways that your son could be speaking to you. And try not to put any expectations on it. Okay. Because that will also be super important. Okay. Okay. Aaron. I know it's weird. It has something to do with the app Restream. So maybe you can look and see if you have to like allow your name to be shared on an app or something like that. I think it has something to do with privacy settings. Okay. I can look it up and I'll try to post it in the event or something. Okay. How long does it take to heal after suicide? So I wish I knew your name, Facebook user. I'm not sure if you're referring to the spirit or to the people that are still living here. I wish I kind of knew that. But I'm just going to try to answer it for both. Okay. So, how long does it take to heal after suicide for you? For the person left behind, the person that's still alive? I'm not sure you'll ever completely heal from suicide, to be honest with you. I'm just being frank. I don't think it's very easy to heal from suicide. I think it's actually the most awful thing that that a person could do to those that are still alive, to the people that they're not sure loved them. Okay? Um because suicide has a huge impact. People take credit, people think that they hurt the person. There's all kinds of guilt feelings, and now you can get to some sort of normal place. And it might depend on the relation and what your relationship was with the person before they left, but anywhere from a couple of years to 5 or 6 years before you're back to your normal self. And I don't know that you'll ever go back to your normal self, frankly. You'll be a new version of yourself that's at least a little bit more tolerable and less grieving. As for the person on the other side, um, the universe doesn't punish people that committed suicide. That's a myth. Although everyone that commits suicide um, usually mentions to me that they regret it, I guess is the best word for it. They don't feel they don't feel as though they got what they wanted. It's not complete. It's um it's not what they thought it would be. Let's put it that way. And that people that have died from suicide, sometimes they come back pretty quickly. Sometimes it depends on the situation, but sometimes they're reborn pretty quickly. Usually the universe will set them up with very similar circumstances, but will give them particular strengths that might help them not repeat the suicide, because suicide is free will. Okay. um it is an act of free will. So I would highly recommend that that you can book in a reading with me and we can talk about it some more, or we can take a look at their astrology. I do astrology death charts, really help people with suicide and murder. The death reading or astrology with mediumship reading is really powerful for those kinds of grieving people. Because it helps you understand, like, where their emotional expression was, I guess, in the moment, um and what was kind of going on for them. And then if we come to understanding, then it's at least a little bit easier to come to acceptance, at least for you. But usually the spirit on the other side, regardless of how they die, has to, like, witness the impact of their death on whoever's left behind. So, and this happens. So you can imagine that for the people that have committed suicide, that's a pretty intense experience, eh? I mean, compared to like a person that died of cancer, right? Okay. So, like, if the person died of cancer, then it would be easier for them um, to express, right? Okay, it would be easier for them to accept, even though they could see that people are sad they are gone, right? But a person that commits suicide is like, oh, I thought they didn't love me. I didn't think anyone would care, and things like that. um, and often they have a karmic debt to people that they impact. So, and that just keeps them in the same soul circle. Um, so the more good karma you do, the more you raise your vibration, and the more you'll kind of move out of your soul circle. Although you could take people with you that also raise their vibration. So anyway, the biggest issue with communicating with spirits on the other side that have committed suicide is sometimes They're a little bit heavier, and it's kind of like listening to low keys on a piano. And so you have to listen a little harder, but it's possible. Okay. All right. I've been dreaming about my grandma who passed quite regularly. Um, was this recent that she passed? That's my question. If it is recent, yeah, it could be due to grief, but it actually sounds more like your grandma might be trying to let you know that she's your spirit guide. She's kind of saying, "Hey, pay attention, learn from this. By the way," okay. Especially if she had any kind of connection to the other side when she was alive. Maybe she was a believer, a strong believer, or maybe she was a medium herself, or psychic, or magical in some way, or just very aligned high vibrationally. It might be easier for her to communicate, which is why she's coming through in your dreams. But it's probably because she wants you to know she's your spirit guide. Even if it is, I don't think it's due to grief. Usually, grief blocks things. Okay. Most of the time, grief blocks things. So, hello. I can't see who you are always, as you can see. Sometimes it just says Facebook user, and that's just because of your privacy settings or something. So, you should just know that. And so, if you want me to say your name, you'll just need to put your name. It's blah, blah, blah. Okay. Uh, the morning my dad passed, a butterfly landed on my shoulders. Will the signs always be the same? I wouldn't say they'll always be the same, but I would say that every time you see a butterfly, or if a butterfly lands on you, or like, something right in front of you, like you're got a book or something, um, yes, that is a sign from your dad. So that kind of happened to me. My dad got buried. A rabbit, like a wild rabbit, came up to me and sniffed my hand. And I don't know about you, strange. Okay, it doesn't. Wild rabbits don't usually do that, right? Um, and so, uh, so when now every time I see a rabbit, even 20 years later, 23, wow, 23 years later, I still think of my father. Okay. And I know that, so like when a rabbit crosses my path, when I'm driving somewhere, I know I'm on my right path, right? It's like a sign of being on the right path from my dad, or a reminder of him for some reason. Especially recently, dealing with the genetic heart condition I inherited from my father. They won't always be the same though, because I also get other things that are in relation to my dad, like numbers, um, and some other things sometimes come up, music, that are related to my father. So it doesn't always have to be the same thing, but every time you see a butterfly, it will mean that, especially if they land on you or something you're holding. Um, Again, I can't always see your name, but hi. How do I remember my dreams? Well, Monica, that's, there's a lot of different ways. So there's herbal pillows you can get with herbs in it that are intended to help you remember your dreams. There are talismans you can make, that can help you remember your dreams. You can definitely should keep a journal next to your bed. Do you wake up and have something in your head and then go back to sleep and then not remember in the morning? Then you should keep a journal, and try to wake up from your dream. Also, try meditating right before you go to sleep while you're laying in bed trying to go to sleep. Try to meditate with the intention of waking up remembering your dreams. There's a simple tip, but I'm happy to help you in the coaching. Try some mystical coaching with me, and we could probably do it. I could probably like give you like a bulleted list to work through, in one meeting. So, um, but there's a lot of different ways, but those are some quick tips. Um, There's a lot of ways to remember your dreams. A lot of different ways. Try setting the intention before you go to sleep. Uh I'm not sure what we're referring to there. Okay. I'm sorry, Ramona. Welcome, Nancy. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome. It's okay. Don't worry about the limit on questions. Okay. Um So the fact that you know it's around 6:30 a.m., we can probably figure it out. Okay, Nikki. It takes a little bit of an experienced astrologer to be able to do it. We call it rectification. So I can do rectification. I'm sure there's other astrologers that can too. And rectification, essentially, we ask you some questions and we kind of help you figure out. But the fact that you have the approximate time, that is completely helpful because then we can hone it in on maybe a sign or two and then figure it out from there. Okay. And 6:30, if it was somewhere between 6:25 and 6:35, that's plenty. That's fine. It's more like hours makes a difference. Okay? Not minutes usually. Sometimes, but not usually. Okay? Is an accidental overdose a form of suicide? Well, I'm going to say the unpopular answer, which is yes. Why? So, does everybody here know drugs kills? Most of us know that drugs kill. It's more about your intention, and it's also about, it's like playing Russian roulette, right? I mean, you know that the potential is to possibly overdose or be poisoned with fentanyl by using street drugs, right? So it doesn't really change their experience on the other side, really. Uh, I mean, whether they intended to overdose on drugs or not, um, passive, I call that passive suicide. It's when people choose, and that goes right along with like people that smoke themselves to death, eat themselves to death, or drink themselves to death. Um, there's a passive part of us that doesn't love ourselves enough to take care of the temple we were given or to honor that we live inside of a very sacred temple, which is our bodies. And um, that is an unfortunate side effect mental health thing that hopefully the person can learn from. And when they're reborn, they'll be gifted um, some sort of way to overcome that so that they don't do that again. Okay. So it's not like they're punished. The universe, as Nadia Shah would say, the universe is wise and loving. Um, the universe is very is going to help set the person up so that they can maybe not choose that in the future. But that is free will. Okay. Um, so I mean, it's your free will to use drugs or not. People say, "Oh, but they were an addict and addiction is a mental health." It is, but we all are aware of rehabs, NA, right? Narcotics Anonymous. We all are aware of ways to get sober, right? Okay. It is a choice, and we have to learn to love ourselves. And that's sort of, and sometimes people are meant to go down that road so that their soul can learn that they have to love themselves first. And it's okay. Um, I know it hurts you a lot, the people left behind. Um, and um, so just hang in there, okay? And just know that whoever it was that overdosed, um, that they're gonna be okay, and it's not like they're punished on the other side. So if we can not think of it that way, that would be like our best bet, and then to forgive them and understand that it didn't really have anything to do with you. Okay? Um, okay. I don't know who this is, but they asked, "Do I do past live readings for the living?" Yes, I do. It's called Akashic Records. So you can get an Akashic Records reading if you go to my website there or go to the link with the QR code. Here we go. Oh, look at that. There we go. Although it says donate, let's not donate. Here, let's try this one. There you go. There's a QR code for you. You can take a screenshot of that. And that's a private session with me. Okay. And if you go there, just look for Akashic Records. And that's sort of like a past life regression type of thing. Okay. Maybe at some point I'll do a donation thing once I get set up for that. I'm trying to work on being able to be live in numerous places first. Okay. So Ed Cat says, have listened to your astrology videos, which are great. So awesome to see this part of YouTube. Thank you. Thank you, Ed. I'm glad you're here and that you listen to Rainbow Soul. I love doing Rainbow Soul with Bright Hawk and Lacrosse. It's definitely a lot of fun and good to know what the stars are up to, right? Are you ready for the eclipse? Are you ready? So if in case you're curious, you can go to my YouTube page, Divine Androgen Spirituality. I'm pretty sure there's a link. Oh no, I didn't get the link up yet. But if you go to my website, divineandrogen.com, you'll be able to link to my YouTube page. And on my YouTube page is Rainbow Soul podcast. And you can listen to the upcoming forecast every week that helps you understand what the vibes will be like and help you be prepared because the eclipses are coming. There's an eclipse that you're probably already feeling it now, and it will be on March 24th. And then that's the lunar eclipse. So that will be very internal and emotional. And then the change will sort of complete by April 8th. Okay, whatever you're going to change. An eclipse, when you're like, well, what's an eclipse house? Why? I mean, I know what an eclipse is, but okay, how it will affect you is it's literally like a total eclipse of the heart, that song, right? Where that line is in there, a total eclipse of the heart. That's when a person goes from loving to not loving. It's pretty much a flip from things, a big change. Okay. How soon after death do people reincarnate? It really depends. I've had this question a lot of times. And every time I ask my spirit guides, they tell me it depends. So, for instance, the Dalai Lama reincarnates, I think it's in 49 days. But he reincarnates so fast because he's a sort of a high vibrating energy, right? Like he's like, well, he's the Dalai Lama, right? But some of us may take a little bit longer, and it might depend on what our next mission in life is. So, for instance, let's just say um, your son passed, or let's just say your mom passed away, okay? And your mom is on the other side, and you're still here. But your next lifetime, your mom is going to be your daughter. So your mom will have to wait on the other side until you pass and then are reborn quickly in order to be the mother, and then she'll follow in as the daughter. See what I mean there? So it depends. Depends. I can usually find out if I ask your spirit guides during a mediumship reading, and sometimes even in the in the death astrology reading or astrology with mediumship. Okay. Which, as I mentioned, you can find that when you book with me private. Okay. Because it's such a one-to-one person basis, right? Like it really depends on the person. Really depends on the person. Hi Elizabeth. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm very connected to wild animals. I feel for all of them. Sarah, that probably has to do with your soul purpose, I would guess. And I would guess that there's something special being called forth for you. You should definitely take a look at your astrology chart. Find out. Not sure how old you are. If you're anywhere around 30-ish, 27, 30, you could be being called to your next career, or something that you have to offer the world, something special you're supposed to be doing, probably related to your soul purpose. Your career and what you do for the world as your soul purpose aren't always the same thing. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. We can look at that in your astrology chart. Okay, I'm not sure who this is, but my mom died January of 23, and a medium has not been able to connect, and I have not been able to connect, but my son died in May and daughter died in 23, and I have connected and felt both their spirits. Are you seeing professional mediums? It sounds like you're open to connecting. At first, I was thinking, well, if you're not like if you're skeptical, you're probably not going to get a good reading. Um, I don't know. I would have to ask your spirit guides why your mom might not connect. Sometimes they get a little quieter when they're about to be reborn, but usually the medium can get from a different spirit that, oh, they're being reincarnated. A professional medium. Okay. And if you're in my mediums group, I don't know if you are, but assuming that you are, um, I would search at the featured readers list pinned at the top and go to a professional reader and see if that changes that. Okay? And you should also set the intention at the beginning. I want to connect with my mom. Okay? And you see if you come to a reading with me, um, you'll definitely will set intentions. That's part of my exercise. When I do medium readings is we set an intention in the beginning. Okay. Um, I'm glad you're here. I wish I knew your name. Unfortunately, my new software is not showing me everybody's names. It has some sort of do with privacy settings, I think, but I'm going to look it up and see why when we're done. Am I able to help heal trauma? Yeah, I'm able to help you heal your trauma. Let's put it that way. Um, and to help guide you in things that could help you heal your trauma. Okay. I am a trauma informed coach. So I actually think that when a person dies, that's trauma. Regardless of what we lose, it's trauma, right? Whether we lose our innocence, our parents, our family, our identity, right? Those are all trauma. It's all trauma. So, just want you to know, I am very sensitive to trauma, very sensitive to how it manifests, and I do use, I think I go together really well with a traditional therapist because a traditional therapist won't do the things that I'm doing, and I won't do the things the therapist is doing. Okay? I'm gonna give you homework each week. I'm going to, um, take different approaches such as, astrology. Um, I might do mediumship, um, anything like that. So, um, I don't think I put trauma coaching up, but I can. But you can just book any coaching session with me, and you're always going to get me. It doesn't matter, even if it says grief coaching. You're like, well, but grief is trauma. They're kind of the same thing in a lot of ways. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You're always going to get me. Okay. All right. What can we do for our loved ones in spirit? Do they need prayer? What do they need from us? Frankly, it's kind of a funny thing. Most spirits that I communicate with, they miss being human. So one of the things that was kind of fun that my son kind of brought in as a medium when he was a kid, because kids are very sensitive. Okay, just FYI. And we had an altar set up for my father who had passed, and my son was kind of close to his grandfather. And we would put food and drink out, okay? And I didn't always let my son have caffeine because he was a little on the hyperactive side and he was like 8, okay? And I was like, caffeine, you're already hyper enough. Do you think you really need more caffeine? Okay. But my dad really liked coffee. So my son would be like, we should get Pup Up a cup of coffee. And I was like, okay. And so then he'd put the coffee out on the altar, which is great. It's a great way for kids to kind of interact with the dead and to help them understand that the person is on the other side. And it gives them a little bit of spirituality, which is good for them. And then he said to me that he should drink a little bit for Pup Up so that Pup Up could taste it. And I was like, huh. So I said, okay. And he did. He drank a little bit and I let him. And then after some time, I was like, maybe I should change the coffee to non-caffeinated decaf. My dad didn't really like that much caffeine anyway. But there's an example. My dad loved coffee. So that's a way like to think of your past loved one and take a little sip. They need to be connected to their humanity because they no longer feel human, and that's usually what they miss. And sometimes they miss the touch. They miss, and I know you can't touch them, but you can imagine them in your mind in your bed beside you, especially like if it was your spouse or something. Um, you can imagine giving them food or drink. Most of the time, they express that they're missing food and sex, honestly. So, very human things, and it totally makes sense, right? Most of us, when we think about it, we're like, of course. Do they need prayer? Not usually. Usually, when you pray, they hear it, though. So, if you're praying for something, they're going to try to help you get that. That's kind of their job as spirit guides. Okay. Sarah Barr, how will I feel? What did you ask me before? How will you feel? I'm not sure what you mean exactly, Sarah. Okay. How will you feel about what in regards to what? You said that you were connected to wild animals, and I said that's probably your sole purpose. We can look at your astrology chart to figure out how that's connected to you. Okay. Do you have any recommendations to lessen ear ringing and strengthen clairaudience? Well, ear ringing usually, assuming you have no physical condition, usually has to do with the energetics changing in the room. So it just means a spirit has entered or exited the room. That's all that means. So I'm not sure why you would lessen it unless you want to turn off your senses. But then you say that you want to strengthen clairaudience. So clairaudience is going to be to learn. I do have a lot of tips for it, but it's about learning how to interpret what exactly you're hearing and what that means. So that's a little bit of some training I do, maybe buy a package deal for mediumship. You can get the link. I'll put it up here in a second. But essentially, we could go through some couple of coaching sessions and probably get that to strengthen up. But it's all about sort of awakening your natural senses. And typically, even people with clairaudience don't always hear it. Don't always hear it like the way I hear you or the way you're hearing me now. Okay. It's a little bit different. So you have to learn to kind of interpret that. Okay. So I would suggest that maybe we book a session, we do some coaching because it's pretty sort of personal. It's not like sort of like these things work for all these people, right? It's more like let's figure out what's blocking your clairaudience, or let's make sure you know how to interpret those things and stuff like that, okay? All right. Do we ever have the same partner? Yes. Often you'll repeat it with your partner again and again and again. Sometimes, if you're soulmates, which isn't exactly what you think you want it to be, eventually you'll have to like kind of work through a bunch of stuff, life after life after life, so that the two of you can live one whole life together and reunite your soul, which has been split many centuries, lifetimes ago. Um, so that's pretty important, right? And then there's twin flames that will sometimes come back and manifest good things or try again to manifest things. Because if twin flames, if both people are not willing to step up into their better selves, then the relationship will get messy. Mm, okay. So just FYI. Okay. So, and then there's soul contracts, which are completely irresistible. You have no, you won't have, like, it will feel like magnets. You won't really have a whole lot of choice. And these are people that will be part of your soul purpose, be part of what you have to learn in this lifetime. Okay. So yeah. So I don't know what the heck that one is, but we'll just do this one. Okay. So, my friends, let's see here. We're going to start to wrap up. I'm going to look and see what other questions are here. Lisa said that her mom passed and now my daughter's pregnant and she wasn't supposed to be able to have a baby. Maybe Lisa, you're a medium, so you should be able to maybe connect with your mom and ask her if she's about to be reincarnated. Just ask straight up and see if you get a question, see if you get the answer. Oh, okay. How would I know what I was in my past life? Well, in the past life regression, I'm going to tell you. Uh and it's usually more than one thing. Like, you've had more than one past life, right? So you've probably had many. So I'll tell you, I'll go through as many past lives as I can get. And usually the Akashic records will provide the ones that you need to know now that will help you in your future. You guys hear my dog snoring? He's like laying on the bed over here, snoring really loud. He's a black lab, they like their sleep. Hey, I don't know who that is. But hey, I'm glad you're here. Okay, Lisa, you did talk to your mom. Okay, my mom told me it was a girl, and it is. Do you think it could be my mom reincarnated? Absolutely, could be. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I do different kinds of lives with different intentions. This is the learning circle, even though it says my first event. Um, but this is a learning circle, and I'll be doing a live mediumship demo later on, okay? I've been getting weird smells again lately. Smelled pancakes being made at the school, and I can sense a spirit in one of the classrooms. Yeah. So, that's cool. Great. So it sounds like I've had that sense before. Um, it's kind of a little weird when you first get it, but yeah, it's totally real. So no, it's not that it's very common. And sometimes it's usually just the spirits trying to let you know that they're there. They just want acknowledgement. A lot of spirits want acknowledgement. And I think that's, like somebody asked earlier, what do spirits want or need? And I think they need acknowledgement. They need to feel connected to the human world because they usually miss being human, believe it or not. Even if they hated being human when they were here, even if they took their own life, they miss it now. All right. All right, Charlie. Charlie's singing for y'all over there. um, how can I get myself to understand these senses? Well, I think there's lots of resources out there. That's why I provide mentorship and coaching so that I can hone in on your actual senses. I have 30 something years experience. So, with mediumship, and I mean, I've had senses since I was a kid. So now I've made sense of them, right? And so now I can help others make sense of theirs. And that's really why I'm here. That's my sole purpose. And that's why I provide coaching. And there's coaching packages. You can get a 4-pack coaching package with me. Scroll all the way to the bottom if you follow this QR code. And you can, it doesn't matter which coaching package you pick. Regardless, you're always going to get me. And then because I know some things you're not sure, like you're not sure how to, what category it should be in or something like that. But the thing is that if you book a coaching session with me, like if you get the 4-pack, it's less than $50 a session. So you'll save some money. Okay. And of course you can just book one session with me as well. Okay. All right. When booking a reading with a medium, should we be telling the medium who we wish to connect with? I think so, yes. Yes. Because if you don't, they're going to be like connected to your great grandma for an hour, and then you're going to walk away going, I really wanted to talk to my husband, okay? But your great grandma totally hogged the mic. Okay? So and spirits aren't really supposed to read your mind. And mediums are not mind readers. We're mediums. Big difference. A mind reader is person reading your mind. I don't read your mind. It's not only something I don't really bother to do, but it's also an invasion of privacy. Okay? And spirits feel the same way. It's an invasion of privacy. I don't want to know what you're thinking, frankly. I only want to know what you're thinking if you're about to kill me. Okay? But outside of that, I don't really want to know, honestly. And so spirits won't check in on your thoughts either, because it's an invasion of privacy. Okay? Because they want you to have like your own private thoughts. But if you speak it out loud, I want to speak to my brother Joe. Then your brother Joe can come in closer to you, and when we speak a spirit's name out loud, we bring that spirit forward. Okay? As I mentioned, they want to be connected to the human world. So if we speak their name out loud, they'll come closer to us. Okay? My brother passed in November 23. I have this constant feeling he is lost. I also have this reoccurring dream. He keeps calling my name, but I can't find him. What can I do to help him find his way? I think that might be your grief there. I don't know why he would be lost. Spirit, nothing bad can happen to spirits on the other side. That is a belief system that has been inserted in a not good way in our culture, and it's quite unfortunate. Nothing bad can happen to spirits on the other side necessarily. Sometimes they can get stuck, but they're usually stuck to a particular place, and it's usually because they don't know that they have passed. So, what can I do to help him find his way? Make an altar and talk to him. Offer him some drinks. Like I suggested, do the altar. Offer him some his favorite coffee or soda or whatever. Drink it while you think of him and speak to him. Okay? That's how you can. How will you feel during the eclipse? Well, that'll depend on your astrology chart, Sarah. It probably will have to do with relationships and the shedding of something. Yeah, no problem, Yvonne. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you to whoever's saying the astrology death reading is amazing. It is one of my favorite readings, I'll admit. It's one of my favorite readings to do. I totally made it up. It came to me from my spirit guides. I've already learned astrology separate from mediumship. And then Spirit was like, you need to put the two together. And my guides were like, put the two together, put the two together. And so I put the two together along with my grief coaching, and bam. So I'm the only person in the world that I know that does it. I've looked at other people that say they do it, but they don't do what I do. Okay. Yeah. So the person says their ears ring when I know he's trying to talk to me, and then they stop when he's not. Exactly. See? So it's the energy of the spirit trying to communicate with you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, exactly, exactly. All right. Okay. I've sat in a closed circle for 5 years and learned as much as I can about spirit and communicating. I feel as though spirit want me to do something with this knowledge, but I don't know what. I don't know. I mean, I don't know you. And the fact that you sat in a closed circle and learned, that makes me concerned, because that means your knowledge is limited. You want it to be open. You want it to go to as many mediums as possible. You want to learn from as many mentors and teachers as you can get your hands on, and follow them as long as you can, and as long as you keep learning, even when it's hard. So there you go. There's one suggestion, is to expand your circle, open your circle. And yeah, I mean, you can come see me for coaching, or an astrology reading might better tell us what you're meant to do with that information, that knowledge that you have. What are you meant to do? Is there a destination or something? Okay. You're welcome, Monica. You are so welcome. So I'm getting messages all the time from my mom, who passed away a month ago. Why is she coming through to me more than others? Maybe you're more open. Maybe she's trying to let you know about something. It's hard to say, Kathleen. I'd either have to communicate with her, look at your astrology chart. Okay. Should we always have a guide into the Akashic records? I don't know about that. If you're naturally drawn to, if you've already been there once or twice with somebody, I teach you how to do it on your own. So no, I don't think so, Yvonne. But you should at least have a couple of different people maybe guide you, so you have a good feel for what it is. What's the use of knowing a past life? Well, sometimes it will explain some of the quirks and things that you have. In an Akashic Records reading, it can help you understand, why you're doing something, or why you're drawn to a particular type of person or path or something. Will life always be the same? No, it never will. It's never the same. Never. So I don't know why you think it will be the same, but never will be. It might have reflections from a past life, but outside of that, no. Good job, Monica. And I've had a couple of dreams with him since he died, and he always is saying something to me. Well, if you're not remembering it, try to put a journal beside you, and try to, when you have the dream, like, intend before you go to sleep, have the intention to wake up and write it down. Okay? Okay. I look forward to meeting you. Yay! Some coaching. I'm getting messages. Oh, I think we already talked about this. All right. Hey, it's great to see you. A sense of place. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you caught me live. I'm going to be trying to do this more often. So, and also do more videos and things. But I want to be able to broadcast live on many things at once. So this is a new software that I'm trying out today. I'm glad this was helpful for you today. I'm so glad. That's the idea. That's what the Learning Circle is about. I'll do Learning Circle pretty regularly, about once or twice a month. I do a Learning Circle. Will my loving man be able to come through? As long as you go with an open mind, don't put any expectations on the reading, and please use a professional reader. You can find, if you're in the mediumship group, if you go to the top, there's a featured reader list, and I suggest that you use it and go with them. Or will it be too hard for him? No. Spirits can come through right away. What's hard for them is to fulfill high expectations by you, um, or to show like the way you're seeing me now. Show themselves like that. Okay? That's what's hard. How do you tell the difference between anxiety and someone trying to come through? It's usually your thoughts. Anxiety. Let's get into a coaching session so we can talk more about that. Sorry, but I'm not sure how the two would feel the same because they don't feel anything alike. So that's like the part that I'm like, let's do some coaching. Because the anxiety might have to do, unless you're anxious about connecting, maybe. Not sure. Okay. Can you past loved one help get justice for their death? Yes. Yes. Although revenge is not usually on their list, and they don't always want it. You think they do, but sometimes their death could be a karmic debt that they owed to that person, and it gets flipped in the next lifetime. Don't make any assumptions. Could you give your input about what the afterlife looks or feels like? Well, as far as I can tell in my years of experience of talking to the people on the other side, spirits on the other side, is that it's mostly focused on us. Okay? It's mostly focused on us. It's mostly focused on the people they're helping. Okay? And they really are focused on, they're following us around or hanging out with us most of the time or trying to push us in a certain direction. That's mostly, from what I understand, that's mostly what's going on the other side most of the time. Okay? Thank you. Somebody said they're happy I'm doing this. I had someone tell me I shouldn't be going to different readers. Was it a reader that told you that? Because I'm letting unknown spirits in, and this could impact the ability of my loved one to communicate with me. Your loved one is with you all the time. And if you get a reading, you're not letting other spirits in or into yourself. You're connecting with the spirits that are already around you. And that reader or person that told you that probably has some sort of intention behind their suggestion, and I would not listen to it. All of the readers in my group will agree that you should get a reading on a regular basis. It will help you through grief, and you should visit as many different readers as you can. Get as many different perspectives because you'll get a different message every time. And you're not letting spirits in, and spirits can't ever hurt you anyway. Goof. Yeah, whoever told you that is a goof. Okay? They're saying that because they want you to keep coming to them or whatever. Okay, I'll try to continue to do lives on a Sunday. So I'm glad that you've all enjoyed this, and I hope that we can meet in a private session, in coaching, or whatever works for you, or whatever, it depends on your situation, whether you need an astrology reading or a medium reading or a coaching session. Either way, I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to connecting with you. Yeah. Yeah. Wayne can only hear you when you speak out loud. That's right. So just going to say, we need to speak out time, and this is believed by so many cultures. Now, everything's a belief when it comes to mediumship and mysticism as a whole, I guess. But most ancient cultures believe you need to speak out loud for the spirit to hear you. Yep. And when I connect with my guides and ask, can they hear our thoughts? Most of the time, the answer is most of the time, no. And that's just because they want to respect your privacy. Okay. All right, my friends. I hope that I get to catch you. Hey, this thing is covering up my face. Well, it would probably change anyway. I look forward to seeing you guys in next time I'm live. I am actually doing live mediumship gallery tomorrow, and I'm going to try to, you can get a link to it in Zoom, but I'm going to try to broadcast it. Okay? All right. Bye-bye, my friends. Bye-bye.